Hi there. I hope all is going well in your day today. I just want to share a message with you. Um, I I have something regarding haters that I wrote, and I used some accounts in from my Bible. Yes, I am a Christian, but the Bible is a book of history also, and so I like to use history because history tend to repeat itself, and there are some things that we experience in life we can find if we don't know anyone personally. We can find an account in this book of history of someone who's going through what you yourself is going through and what their outcome really was. In this particular instance, I it's going to take me a minute, but I want to address the issue of haters, and we all have them. Even sometimes we have silent haters pretending to be friends, and but we'll get into that even later. Now, what I want to start with is a personal account of what I went through, me and my husband went through. We used to be pastors. No, nothing happened, and we got disgraced, and none of that happened. We simply retired. Okay, so I just want to clear that up. We retired. But we are really everyday people. We live life like you do. We breathe and eat and everything just like you do. We go through changes. We wonder why. And but I found that I can find a balancing account in what I consider a historical book of accounts that will match mine. And I like to read what the outcome of the other person was when they had haters. One I really like because it is like almost like a blueprint when it comes to business. And a lot of times people say, well, I'm not a Christian, I don't read my Bible, this, and that. But if you did dare to pick it up and look at it as a book of history, and if you look at the story of Nehemiah, if you're trying to build a business or build or rebuild something, back up, it's such a fantastic story or account. So that gives lots and lots of principles that you can just live by in your everyday life. And that's that. But I'm going to share some, and hopefully you'll listen all the way through, or at least listen long enough to grab something for yourself. So I'm going to begin this particular topic with an account that we lived through. When we first started pastoring, we planted. We didn't get called somewhere and get put on payroll and all of that. We started this ministry. And we started it because we had seen so much going on in the church, so many things that just was unethical and that we had questions about, until we thought, okay, if we feel that way, then why don't we just do something different? That's all. Just do something different. And so that's what we did. And basically the different was we had a structure that was a little bit different than some others, that built in two layers of integrity. And so that if one faltered, there's another one, or both layers should actually match. And so that's what we did. We had our board and treasurer, and then we had a I guess you would call it a shadow board and treasurer that gave us two layers of accountability. And so that's what we did. And we did that out of protection for ourselves, because we didn't want anybody to think that we were swindling them in any kind of way. Anyway, what happened was when we started with friends, actually, some friends and some people we had just met, but at the top level, friends who we had been friends with for some years. And we trusted them. As a matter of fact, our board chair, he was a friend of my husband's from elementary school. And so, we felt like we could trust him. We had others that were there that we had come to know over the years, and we trusted them. And so we trusted both layers, because both layers had to be trusted. Okay, and so that's what we did. What we didn't know was our board wanted his father-in-law to actually take the church from us. So what they did was they started a rumor about us while we're building. They started a rumor about us. And so then the next thing we knew, someone wanted to talk to us. And so we thought, well, let's call a meeting and let everybody hear it. And because we felt we had nothing to hide. And so instead of having this small group, we told everybody that was part of the church to come. We want you to hear everything. We don't know everything that's going to be said, but we want you to hear everything. We were that confident that we had done nothing until we didn't really mind. And so what ended up happening, we found out what the real deal was, but they tried to set us up and make it look like we had taken money. And they did not know we had a shadow board and treasurer. They had no idea. And so what ended up happening was we had this meeting. We got accused, which I was shocked. I was shocked because that person knew we would never do anything. And so what ended up happening was we were able to, what we did was we used the other treasurer that was connected to our chairman of the board who was trying to set us up. We used her to give us a report of every dime that had come in from the beginning to that point. At this point, we were about 4 months old. And so she gave the report. Then we had our shadow person that they discovered we had, who gave the same report. Ended up, we were $27 short. And at first I was like, how did it get $27? And $27 seems like nothing. But I like to keep up with everything. And so finally, one of the older ladies, she said, you know what I think? Remember when we had a meeting at your house and we had refreshments and you said you needed the receipt for that night for accountability, and you were really upset about it, and everybody was wondering why were you upset? It was such a small amount. I believe that's the receipt you're missing. And because as they cleaned up, they threw everything away, and I couldn't find the receipt. And not knowing this was going to even come up, because everybody knew about that, because they thought I was being unnecessary. And so what ended up happening was she said that, and then everybody that was at the meeting said, that's right, I remember that. And so we were able to clear that up. And then he said, well, you guys don't have any money. Well, what we said, well, let's get a report of what's on hand. And so when we did, everybody said, wow, we're small and we're young, and we have that much there. Well, yes, because we didn't spend the money. We didn't even take a salary. We did not take a salary from our ministry until 5 years later, because we wanted the church to be 5 years old and 5 years strong. Before we took a little bit, was never a full salary. It was always just a gift. So because we were not in it for the money, we were. And so what ended up happening was we were able to straighten it out. The people said, please, leave them alone. They ended up leaving the meeting thinking that it was a joke, but they were busted. It didn't feel good. It felt really bad to have your integrity challenged like that for no reason. But we got past it, and we continued to go on for about 25 more years. And so after that whole thing, we wanted to defend ourselves. Because people were asking us about it, but we were not allowed to defend ourselves. We did not feel inspired to defend ourselves. Just leave it alone and keep moving, because that was nothing more than a distraction. And that's what we did. So now I'm going to go into another part of this account and then include Nehemiah. And so what I do want to say is division is always deception, undercover. And sometimes you can't really put your finger on it, but you know it's division. So we later found out by way of one of the other members what the whole plan was. And it was very hurtful. We were being set up for a major fall by our chairman and friend. Yes, now we discover we had haters in the camp. But it feels terrible when the haters are your friends, those that you've been committed to and thought they were committed to the friendship in the same, but they were not. So yes, we had haters in the camp. They knew that the people had been deceived before they came to us, but they didn't understand. That's why we had 2 layers of integrity, so that they could have confidence that we would never take advantage of them. What they did not understand was that we had also come from a church that this issue was a problem, which then made us adopt true accountability, and that's our 2 layers. It was after that we found out that the ringleader was also trying to find a way to move us out and move his father-in-law in, even though we started it. When we found out, of course we were shocked, we were hurt, we were somewhat shaken. And we had a meeting, and we dealt with where we go from here, and that's where the story starts. This meeting actually determined if we were going to continue, if there would be a story told. And so we ended up doing it. When we ended up in this situation, it was very saddening, very hurtful, but our joy was restored. And it was restored by those that really trusted us. It was at that point that we were secure that we didn't have to remain, but we decided we would, because we were asked to remain. And so we did. We were willing to let someone else take it. We weren't so stuck on that. And but they asked us to remain, and so we did. So together it became a here am I at your disposal. Though opposition tried to overtake the vision we had, opposition soon lost the battle by us staying as focused as Nehemiah. Stayed as focused as Nehemiah. And the people working with him were also focused. And the people that stayed with us were focused on making things a success. We must adopt the same attitude that they took when opposed, and that is, I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. I'll give you more context as we move on. That was the only one subject, that was only one situation, I should say. And there were many more. But by the time the next thing came, we were completely convinced that we were standing in the right place at the right time. Because if you're not doing anything that would be powerful, change someone's life, or even change your own life, if you're not doing anything, you find that you're not going to be too picked on. There's nothing to fight for. And but when you put your hands to a vision that you have, you can almost guarantee there's going to be opposition, and you're going to have some haters, but you have to stay focused. And that's why I mentioned the statement that's here. I'm doing a great work and I can't come down. And that is the idea that you have to adopt. So when people come around you, you adopt the attitude, I don't have time for your foolishness. I'm busy doing something right now. And so you really need that, not in arrogance, but in being convinced of yourself that you have a living, breathing vision, and you can't come down from that. And you have to breathe life into it. That was only one situation, but we'll move on. If you know that you are in the right place at the right time, when opposition comes, remain in position. Don't worry about it. Remain in position. I'd like to continue with this. So I'm going to just go on into a little bit of Nehemiah. And he had a couple of haters anxiously waiting to try and discourage him in his purpose for being in Jerusalem. His reason for being there was it was his hometown. And the walls of the city had been torn down, and there was so much destruction in that city. And when he heard about it, he cried about it. And he went to the king, who he worked for, and asked for permission to go and help build the city back up. And the king gave him permission, not only permission, but also gave him some connections to get the supplies, materials that he needed. And so he then went on to do that. He found that opposition comes more than once, but if you let it, it will serve only to make you strong. And if you know that you're in the right place at the right time, don't worry about opposition. Don't worry about it. I can say that 1,000 times. If you know you're in the right place, don't worry about it. Stay focused. I'd like to continue also with who his haters were. And he had 3 of them. It was Sanballat, Horonite, the Horonite, or 2 of them. Sanballat, who was the Horonite, and Tobiah, the servant, the Ammonite, and heard of it, and it grieved them exceedingly that there was a man who came there on behalf of the children of Israel to help build their city back up. To help build their city back up. And so these guys were instrumental in bringing the city down. So they didn't want to see it come back up, especially not if they didn't do it. If that were to happen, then their integrity and strength as a people would also be restored. So Sanballat and Tobiah would not be able to take advantage of them anymore. They hated the fact that Nehemiah was there trying to help the children of Israel. Trying to help the children of Israel. In some situations, we will find the same mentality when it comes to people today. A situation where people have been torn down. They've been abused. They've been spiritually stripped of their own godly integrity, leaving them feeling empty, depleted in their inward man and in their resources, and placed in bondage in a place that should represent freedom, but they cannot feel it. Because when you're torn down, you cannot see the light of day sometimes. People looking on, witnessing what has happened, yet afraid to get involved, but don't mind talking about it. You'll have them. People who witnessed everything, witnessed your demise, but they don't want to say anything about it. They don't want to get involved. But they don't mind talking about it with other people. They'll tell what happened, but they won't tell the part necessary. We also have those that will use their mouth as, I call it, a deadly weapon against someone that will come in with the heart and ability to bring life back to a situation, make something that was once vibrant and flourishing. You'll find those that will fight against that. Those that premeditate ways to discourage someone, hoping to get them off their course of success. Don't let anybody do that to you. Those that will come in very angry because of maybe something that happened to them before they came into your space, and find your success and somehow find conflict find a way to bring conflict with them, conflict and manipulation, because you always have those that were following you wholeheartedly, but they're not strong enough. They're not convinced. They don't see the vision. They're just going along. And those are the ones that those that come in trying to cause division will find them so that they can manipulate them and build their army to try and sabotage what you have envisioned to do. And these people represent nothing more than distraction if you allow them to get in your way. So you cannot allow them to get in your way. It is necessary to be able to see these people for what they are and for who they are, and understand what their real intentions are when they approach you. It would be negligent on our behalf if we don't inform you that these people will exist as you move out in your own vision, and warn you of these individuals who are destructive and self-serving. Destructive and self-serving. Now, another little part about Nehemiah is when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem, the Arabian, heard, they laughed us to scorn. They laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, "What is this thing that you do? Will you rebel against the king?" He had the king's permission to go. And so there was, they laughed, tried to laugh at him, tried to make fun of him and all of that. And then ask him, what are you trying to do? What exactly are you trying to do? And just laughing at them, and because they were jealous. And those are your haters. And then they tried to throw a little something in and say, well, what do you think you're doing? Are you rebelling against the king? Not knowing they had the king's blessing. And so they didn't steal Nehemiah, stayed focused and helped keep his people focused so that they could get the job done, because he did come there with a deadline. He was allowed to go by the king, but he had a certain time he had to be back. And so he knew he could not waste any time. You may even have those that will sit around laughing at your efforts as you build or rebuild something in your life or vision that you have. They will seem to hate you for no reason at all, and even question whether you have the wherewithal to accomplish what you said you were going to try and accomplish. They will even question your loyalty and everything to those that are helping you. And they will sometimes seem like your greatest support because they're getting inside to sabotage your endeavors. Keep your eyes open. The reality is that these haters will judge you according to their own rebellious heart and their own nasty intentions if given the same task. The greatest weapon for these people is to stay, number one, stay humble, regardless of what they do. Remember, being humble is not being weak, but rather it is understanding just where the true strength that you need to accomplish what you put your mind to actually comes from. Now, another thing that happened, it says, but the part of the account says that Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabian, so they finally got someone, influenced somebody else to help them. And the Amorites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up and the breaches began to be stopped. Then they were very angry and conspired, all of them together, to come to fight against Jerusalem and hinder it. You had that happen before. You're doing something and you think it's a really good thing and you think everybody will celebrate this. This is amazing. And you find out you have those that gather troops, get their friends and their buddies to kind of make fun and laugh at what you're trying to do. And then when that doesn't work, they get mad, and then they conspire together to try and hinder it. Keep your eyes open. We all have haters. These are people that come together to talk about the success of your efforts and conspire to stop you before you can complete your vision. Initially, they will laugh and mock you, seeing the big job you really have ahead of you. And just as they'll do it just as they did with Nehemiah. Nehemiah experienced the same thing. Then they will begin to spread lies and rumors in hopes of destroying any influence you might acquire. Stay focused. Don't get distracted fighting a battle to the point that you cannot continue to build. So stay focused regardless to what they do. Again, they will challenge you in your loyalty to the people that are assisting you, but don't allow them to cause division among you and those in your troops. Also, hoping to cause those sent to support you to question your loyalty to the one who sent you, confusing where their loyalty should lie. In other words, here's what I'm saying. They will cause division, and when all else fails, they get mad. And they will laugh. And when laughter doesn't make you stop and you continue and you stay focused and you keep talking about what you're doing and you keep mentioning the next step of accomplishment you made, then these same people will then get angry, and then they'll start in trying to get influence in your support system, and then start questioning or causing questions in the minds of those that are assisting you, causing to question your loyalty to them, trying to confuse the situation and challenge the loyalty that those that are assisting you have to your vision. After this attempt doesn't work, then you will have those that will simply try to form a united front with others to literally fight against you, attempting to hinder the work you were sent to do. Because believe it or not, there are those that will get angry about good work being done. Can you imagine? You're doing something good that's actually going to help other people. And there are people that get mad because of the good work that's being done. Sounds silly, but it happens. We all have haters. When you first go out to do a work, you usually think that people will be happy about it and celebrate it because it's a good work and everybody benefits. But this is not so. Though it is an honorable thing to be trusted enough to have this vision and manifest this vision, or put forth the effort to manifest this vision, the response to an honorable work is not always favorable. The key is to respond with focus and vision. Respond with focus and vision. Now, here's the proper response to, and this is where my other first liner, I'm doing a good work and I can't come down. Here's the response. It says, what Nehemiah tells them is that I have a vision. I'm putting it forth. By God's grace, I'll be able, and I'm paraphrasing, I will accomplish this, or he will prosper us, is what he said. And he tells them, and we will rise and build. But when we get it built up, you won't be able to benefit by this. Based on your actions, you won't be able to benefit by the work that's being done because of your actions against us. The key is to respond with focus and vision. Again, I've said that before, focus and vision. So then what ends up happening is he tells them, you see we're doing something good. That's why you're acting up. But when it's all done, you won't be able to benefit. It says here that he says, God will prosper us. We'll rise and we'll build. That is just my commitment. After all that you've said and done, we'll still rise and we will build. And reading this whole account, I find something extremely interesting about Nehemiah's response. He doesn't get sidetracked with their threats or destructive efforts, but rather he stays focused on his very source of help, God. Rather than respond to the haters with fear, he in turn responds to the people that are helping him and that he's doing it for with a motivating speech. He understood getting the work done requires a very motivated people who are able to see his vision and not the agreement of his haters. Nehemiah reminded his haters before the people of who they were and whose they were when he said, therefore, we his servants. He first of all identified who they were, who the children of Israel, he and those that were doing the work, who they were. And he said, we're servants. And which is a whole nother topic. You know, you're doing all this work. You're going to get recognized for it. You're helping a lot of people, an entire city. And still after that, he says, we're servants. And to remind them of and he reminded the people that were working with him the ultimate help that they have behind them and who would see them to their successful end. He encouraged the children of Israel in such a way that by the time he was done, he did not have to ask them to continue the work, but he was able to say what they together were going to do, and that was build. After establishing their position, the goal of Nehemiah then addresses his haters with the promise. He tells them they will not benefit on any level once this is done, once the city's built back up. He wanted them to understand that all their rights that they thought they had would be eliminated and would not be able to share in the benefits that will be established. As a matter of fact, any memory of their terror will also be replaced with independence and the willingness to fight in order to maintain it. And what a response. What a response. And what a lesson for us. We must not be blinded by the destructive efforts of our haters, but must also remember who we belong to with the same confidence that Nehemiah had. And he shared it when he said, therefore, we, his servants, and the God of heaven, he will prosper us. We must remember that when all is said and done and the work is complete, your haters will only be able to stand back and scratch their heads in awe for what God has done in what was initially thought to be an impossible feat. Then again, how impossible was it when Nehemiah came with a vision, permission, authority, equipment, and the ability to get the people enthusiastic about what they were doing? He was deemed a winner from the onset. If we could get that, absorb the account, how Nehemiah handled things, no matter what we put our hands to in business or whatever we put our hands to in our family, in our personal life or whatever we put our hands to, if we could take on the absolute focus that Nehemiah took on, and when his haters came around, he was so focused on what he was doing. He said, I'm doing a good work and I can't come down. In other words, I don't have time for your foolishness. I'm trying to get something accomplished. And then not let them aggravate you so much until you become distracted. When you start your vision out or your rebuilding team out or even a new building, when you have your team that's gonna help you do it, understand there may be a hater among you. There may be a weak link among you, but still stay focused, because you have to understand, once you have a vision, and the vision is breathing, it's a living thing now. And if you can stay focused on nourishing the vision, then you, from the onset, no matter what other people do, you in the onset, when you take the first step toward the vision, you have already been deemed a winner. You've already been deemed a winner. Don't get distracted. We all have haters, but some of us have visions that are living and breathing. Let's get them going. Let's breathe more life into it and manifest what we can see. You have haters, but you have a vision. Let's get it done. See ya.